All right, welcome to the show, YouTubers. Make sure you get busy in the chat, smash that like and subscribe button, and get ready for an action-packed episode yet again. Let's do it, everyone. We got a great show today. We got a review of El Clasico, Liverpool, Manchester City. What a game that was, man. Wow. End-to-end stuff, action-packed all around. Le Classique, Nigel Reo-Coker was all over it. The Turin Derby, it was a close game, but in the end, the black and whites came through. And more from the Bundesliga, La Liga, any game that had some action to it this weekend, we are all over it. Ian Joy alongside Nigel Reo-Coker. We'll have Jonathan Johnson join us later on from Paris. He was at the big game today. So sit back, relax, and let us entertain you. Qué Golazo begins right now. Welcome along, everybody. Welcome to you, Nigel Reo-Coker. What a weekend, my man. How are you?
I am great, my friend. I'm great. What a tremendous weekend we had of some fantastic football. And I must say, I love your pink sweater. But on to the other subject, all the fans and people listening in right now, make sure your comments come in, and especially for Mr. Ian Joy, who has a certain safety word or trigger word in the name of Bayern Munich. So any Bayern Munich fans or any German fans, send those messages in. Show Ian no mercy, because there's something wrong at Bayern Munich.
Listen, Nigel is absolutely right. Drop your comments in if you've got a question for either of us. If your team played this weekend, if you were heartbroken, if you watched your team miss sitters, if you watched your team have a big win, let us know in the comments. But just join in the conversation anyway. This show is for you. Let's begin with El Clasico, Nigel Reo-Coker. What a game. Great prediction once again from you. You expected the victory, and Real Madrid got the job done. But this was pretty much a statement victory. Karim Benzema opening the scoring. Valverde on the score sheet once again, as was Rodrigo. But this really was a top-class performance from a team that's flying high right now, both domestically and in Europe.
Do you know what, Ian? I just realized how stacked Real Madrid are. And I've said it before, and I personally said it at the start of this campaign, that I see Real Madrid winning it all. I see them again winning the Champions League, because when you look at strength in depth, the players that they have starting, the players that can come off the bench, the differences they can make, and there's just something about the mentality about Real Madrid players that a lot of these clubs are just far off right now. What a statement win. And in contrast, Benzema scores the first goal, and Ronaldo's being hauled off the pitch at Manchester United against Newcastle. And Benzema's probably going to be named tomorrow the World Player of the Year. So that's just the contrast of world football, of one of the greats, how he's still flying. But let's not forget this. But well done. Let's not forget this. When Ronaldo was at Real Madrid, Benzema had to take a back seat to Ronaldo. And Ronaldo was king of Madrid, and he had a fantastic time. Now, Benzema has elevated himself to be the main man. He's taken on that burden. The one next to him in Vinicius Jr. is the next star who's got no problem with taking the responsibility, but it was a statement win. Yep. Barcelona played great at times. Again, it's what we've said so many times. There's such a great reliance now on Dembele to make things happen for Barcelona. Dembele is the one key factor that tries to make things happen, and it's just too hard for him. It's too much of a pressure and a burden for Dembele to make things happen, while Real Madrid, for me, are the better world-rounded team. And I've got a question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you not think Real Madrid have the best midfield in world football right now when you say Kroos, Modric, and Tchouaméni? Can you name me? Stop laughing. Can you name me a better midfield or world-class midfield in world football than those three right now?
Listen, I find it very difficult. Obviously, different tactical approaches from other teams around Europe. You look at the best teams, PSG, obviously don't have the names that Real Madrid have. Manchester City, they swap a lot out in midfield, and they have experience as well as a bit of youth. Is there anyone else that really you could say would come close to that midfield? I don't think so. I mean, the names are there. And I always thought, Nigel, it was going to be a problem for Real Madrid. I thought it was going to be a real issue, because the three experienced boys who had won, obviously so many titles at Real Madrid, especially the Champions League trophies, and Modric, Kroos, and Casemiro. I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect when Casemiro left. I was a bit worried. But I guess we should not really doubt what's happening behind the scenes at Real Madrid. And listen, it's a big price tag to pay for Tchouaméni. It was one that shocked me. I didn't realize how good he was. But when you watch them play right now, It's insane and it's fun to watch. And that's what I love from a Real Madrid side. And a Clasico, I want to see them really step up. I want to see the youngsters shine. And today they did exactly that yet again. I love what they are right now. They are still a club right now, a team that not many people are speaking about in the Champions League once again, and they're still doing their business. And then domestically, if you notice this, Nigel, La Liga, top of the table. Barcelona, look at them, only conceded 1 goal. We'll talk about Barcelona, all the signings. No one's talking about Real Madrid going into this game again.
100%. 100%.
And then they clean it up. And
the crazy thing is, Ian, they won the Champions League last year. This squad undoubtedly is better than last year. And like I said, even still, they're not playing at full potential. But what I like is, look at Madrid defending. They're all behind the ball. And again, all of the things we see from Madrid isn't just the players. It's credit to the respect they have for one of the great managers of the game in Ancelotti. They defend all behind the ball. But what they have is Vinicius Jr., Valverde, and other threats who can break to get behind the ball, to get ahead of the ball and be a pacey threat in behind, where they can go from defending in their 6-yard box to instantly in the edge of your box in 3 or 4 seconds. And like you said, no one's talking about them, but they're still grinding out results. They're not losing. Even as tough as their game against Shakhtar Donetsk was, they still came back to get a draw, which is credit to the mentality and also the manager. Because even in today's El Clasico, Ancelotti made some fantastic tactical changes in the substitutions he made. As Barcelona grew stronger in the game in the last 10 minutes, most managers will sit back and say, oh, these players should be able to see it out because they're top players. No, this is a manager who reads the game, reads the moment of the game, what the flow is. The decisions he made to bring Rudiger on, all those decisions there are what top-class managers do. Because, yes, you've got superstar players, but you've got to read the flow of the game. The momentum was in favor of Barcelona. You make changes to see the game out. Fresh legs on in midfield, took Modric on, who was absolutely sensational today. But for me, if you're Real Madrid, you are happy where you are right now. Yes, you're top of the league, but still yet everyone's talking about, oh, Man City favorite to win Champions League. Oh, no. Real Madrid are still the top team in that Champions League.
Yeah, especially after today, you'd have to say they're still the team to beat in the Champions League and certainly still the team to beat in La Liga. Everybody out there, thank you so much for joining the show. You're watching Qué Golazo. We're going live here. It's me and Nigel Rio-Coker. We've got Jonathan Johnson coming to you live from Paris later on in the show. Please drop in a comment if you're out there watching, and we've had some great comments coming in already. Rafa telling me that there's still something wrong with Bayern Munich. I think he's laughing at me. They only scored 5 goals today. We've got Matt Osman saying he agrees with you, Nigel. Madrid's midfield, even without Casemiro, is unmatched. SSB 28, once again, if you get the first goal against Barcelona, they break mentally. The leaders in the locker room are not stable. I'm not sure, Nigel, if many are stable right now in that Barcelona locker room. There's a lot of talk off the field about Barcelona financially. What's happening at the club? It's being unstable. Obviously, you could see with the ownership group, the president, there's issues right there. There's stress going on. Barcelona fans, I am sure, are unhappy. However, delighted with the squad they put together this year. I mean, I can't even still fathom how on earth they managed to put the squad together. They are competing. But today you just saw that there was a different class with Real Madrid. And what did we learn from Barcelona today? I mean, what did you take away from their performance? They scored a great goal with Ferran Torres getting on the score sheet. Lovely assist. I thought Ansu Fati was great in the assist, even though Lewandowski was the one who was credited with the assist. Ansu Fati deserved it. What did you learn from this Barcelona side? And I want to know also from everybody out there who's a Barcelona fan, let us know in the comments what you thought of Barcelona's performance today.
Yeah, do you know what? It'll be great to see some fans message in to see what they think. So I think we can kind of add to that. But for me, like you said, it's a great assembled team, but I still feel they're lacking that real bite, that grit, that desire. Because even in the game, you look at it today, I saw greater determination and desire from Real Madrid players because they've got that extra X factor in the personality than Barcelona. I think Barcelona is died. It's died from the Barcelona side we saw a long time ago. There's only so much, you know, PK can do, and obviously I don't think he didn't play today. And for me, I just feel that it's, I don't know. Would you really call it panicking in the sense of they panicked to compete because they know the financial implications of wanting to stay in the top 2, top 3 in La Liga? So I would say that they've got some great young players coming through. Could they have taken their time again, do another year's rebuilding and just try and compete at a good level? But I feel that it's just because of the pride of being at Barcelona. They have to be in the Champions League. They have to be competing for La La Liga titles, where they could have taken that extra year out to really recruit well and just blood in the young players that have got coming through. Like you said, Fatu came in and done an assist. He's a player that's been in and out of favor at the moment. But overall, Ian, what I see in this Barcelona side is what I've said before. Beautiful football, flattering to deceive to a certain degree. Reminds me a bit of Arsenal, flattering to deceive. They play some great games, but when they come up against clubs that are seen as their equal or in the same level, they crumble. They can't get the job done. They don't finish it off. And I just feel that's where this Barcelona is at right now. They're lacking that real bite in the top end of the pitch when they play against the big boys. And like you said it as well, Lewandowski missed a fantastic chance. Well, if he put that in the back of the net at 1-1, we could have been seeing a different El Clasico today.
Yeah, we got a comment once again coming in about Dembele and Rafinha. Can they be on the pitch at the same time? That's the question right there. They don't play well when they're on the pitch together. That one comes in once again from SSB28. Thank you so much for the comment. You keep it coming. I love to hear it. You're also saying, I'm hearing a lot of fans online saying that Xavi out, Xavi out. It's too soon to sack Xavi. Xavi is still learning on the job, but he needs to learn after his mistakes. And Nigel, sometimes when you have young coaches or coaches who know the history, who have lived and breathed the football club for a long time, we get that. We respect what they did on the pitch. But being on the bench and getting results during a turbulent time is not easy. Xavi will learn from this right now. And I think the way he's handling the media, the pressure, the situations, the big jobs, I think he's saying the right things. He's handling it pretty well.
He's handling it well, but again, it's a difficult one though, Ian. You got to be realistic about this. You talk about Pochettino is out of a job. Pochettino could have a different effect on that Barcelona team. Look what he did at Tottenham. You know, and if it's a building job or a project, that is what Pochettino is best at. And especially getting the best out of young players coming through. There's no better manager than that. I think the problem we have sometimes is with Xavi is there's that element of passion of you being a player, playing in these games and what it's like to represent the club. That all sometimes might cloud your judgment and be too involved in it. So sometimes it's not always the best thing to bring an ex-player, an ex-legend to manage that club because there's too much emotional involvement in that aspect of it. The best player that's ever had the luxury of doing it, I would say, is one of the greats is Zinedine Zidane at his time at Real Madrid. You know, he didn't really have to do too much, you'd have to say, tactically because of the players that he had, but there was respect there instantly because this was Zinedine Zidane. But I'm not saying Xavi doesn't demand that same respect, but you can see there's a different element of a greater passion of commitment for that club and Barcelona and the Basque region, which can sometimes cloud a manager's judgment and, you know, gets too emotionally involved where your message might not be taken the right way with certain players.
Yeah, well, there you have it. The Clasico did not disappoint today. If you're a Real Madrid fan out there, they won by 3-1. An outstanding performance. I thought Barcelona played well in the game. I think, more possession of the ball, more shots on target. But at the end of the day, losing by 3-1. Some big opportunities were missed right there. And Real Madrid now go top of the table in La Liga. Let's turn our attention while we're discussing El Clasico and Karim Benzema on the score sheet to Ballon d'Or and bring in another legend of ours. Yes, welcome Jonathan Johnson to the show live from PSG.
Oh,
how you doing, JD? Look at that. That must be a Louis Vuitton right there. How are you, buddy?
French designer, famous French designer. Name names.
Yeah, doing very well. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the lead in and just having to give Nigel a run for his money with the threads.
All right, let's get into the discussion on Ballon d'Or while you're there, because we've just been discussing Benzema on the score sheet once again, JJ, today. Listen, I read your article, obviously, on CBSSports.com. Great job with that. But the statistics don't lie. What Karim Benzema has done for Real Madrid over the last 12 plus 24 months has been sensational. And maybe we need to be speaking more about him. So clearly he's the obvious winner of Ballon d'Or, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't think I tried my best to rack my brains to come up with a credible candidate to rival him. And it's just impossible to do. Any kind of combination of the way that you break down what Karim Benzema has done over the last season, all signs point towards him winning it, because you can look into the stats, you can look into the fact that Benzema winning Pichichi, he's not scored as many goals as previous winners like Lionel Messi, like Cristiano Ronaldo, but you look at some of the timing of those goals, it's just incredible. Look at some of the hat-tricks that he dropped in the Champions League against PSG, against Chelsea, scored 3 out of Real's 6 goals against Manchester City to get them through. Benzema is as key as they came for Real in all of their successes last season. He contributed in pretty much every important game. I think, both in terms of individual contribution and what Real achieved as a whole, like together, I think Benzema deserves it for that. And then you can also add in the fact that he won his first silverware with France as well in the Nations League. I know it's perhaps not as prestigious as a World Cup or a Euro, but it's a trophy all the same, and it's one that France have picked up and added to the trophy cabinet. So, for me, I don't think there's anyone that really could rival, Benzema, not even somebody from within his own team.
Nigel, you got anything here?
No, I agree with you, JJ. I think for me as well, most of the let's be real, most of the Ballon d'Or winners are Champions League winners. And what he did with that Real Madrid side was the vital run. And as you said, you've seen it, Ian, I've seen it. Certain players at the right moment of time, when you go on a run for a 2-3 month period of scoring tremendous amount of goals and everyone's talking about you, that's when you end up getting a big move. And I think for Benzema's case, there's never been any doubt about his talent and ability. But he just went on the most vital run at that time for Real Madrid to lead the club, be the club leader, and take him to win the Champions League with a squad that all Madrid fans will be honest and say they did never expect themselves to win the Champions League last year. That they didn't feel that squad was good enough. It was lacking extra bit of superstars, or from what it is. And he was talismanic, as you would say, JJ. Yes, I took your words. But no, yeah, I think you're right. I don't think there's really any competition.
Yeah, let me just give you a few stats on the season that he had as well. Benzema registered 44 goals and 15 assists and 46 appearances in all competitions for Real Madrid in 21-22. An average of direct goal contribution of every 66 minutes. I mean, insane statistics right here. Oh, no, I'm not done here. He scored 15 goals in the Champions League in 21-22, the joint third most by any single season Champions League campaign. Outstanding statistics. And, of course, Benzema scored more Champions League goals than 23 of the teams who qualified for the competitions this season, including Juve, Man United, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Inter, and Borussia Dortmund. The striker got either a goal or an assist in 32 of 46 club games he appeared in 2021-22 campaign. It's just sensational. And I'm going to just leave the last word for you, JJ, before we move on to the PSG and Marseille game about him, because, of course, tomorrow everyone can tune in live on Qué Golazo, 2:30 Eastern, and watch the ceremony, of course, on P+. You can also watch it. And right after it's handed out to Benzema, you can come and join the boys on Qué Golazo. JJ, once again, like I said, Benzema today, great performance from him. Got the victory done, but Real Madrid victorious again, and Benzema is one of the reasons why.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, something that's really interesting about, Benzema's situation at Real is a lot of people wrote him off. When Cristiano Ronaldo left the club, they were like, oh, it's going to be too much of a challenge. Those boots were too big to fill, when Ronaldo moved on. Yet Benzema has stepped up to the plate. He's delivered, and he has arguably enabled Real to continue to squeeze, the rest of the juice, so to speak, out of that squad. Because many people, myself included, I did think that they were, sort of coming to an end. Yet when you've got players of the quality of Modric, you've got somebody like Courtois, at the back as well, arguably one of the only players who might have been able to challenge Benzema, for the Ballon d'Or. But when you've got an individual goalkeeper award, it's going to be very difficult to do that. It's to be able to give Real that longevity, you just needed somebody as gifted, somebody as experienced, somebody who's been there and done that, like Ancelotti, to come in, put an arm around those players and just gently coax them into the right kind of form at the right moments in the season. Obviously, they got some lucky breaks as well. There's no denying that. But, you make your own luck as well at times. And, Benzema and Real have done that fantastically well. And suddenly there seems to be a bit more life in this Real squad than we initially thought.
Yeah, insanely so. I agree with you. Great comments as always. And like I said before, please everybody go out and check cbssports.com and make sure you find the great articles from our Jonathan Johnson. Great one on this Ballon d'Or race. And of course, Karim Benzema, the favorite to lift the trophy. Make sure you can catch it, of course, at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Paramount Plus, just to remind everybody. Let's turn our attention right now to Le Classique in Ligue 1. That's where JJ is right now. Nigel caught the game. I caught a little bit of the game. Neymar on the score sheet. PSG got the victory. Overall thoughts on the game, JJ? What was the atmosphere like? What was the build-up like? Obviously, a lot of nonsense talk going into the game. But overall, PSG getting the important 3 points, and I'm sure everyone's happy.
Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere is always going to be electric for these games, despite the fact there's no away fans. The home fans will always be up for it. And it's the same in Marseille as well. This means so much to both sets of fans. It was keenly contested on the pitch. I think it swung on a couple of really key moments during the match. I think PSG had a much better first half than the second half. Paul Lopez made some phenomenal saves in the first half to keep Marseille in it. And I think it really changed on that one bit of brilliance, Mbappe teeing up Neymar for the goal, and then Gigot getting sent off in the second half. I think that really sort of was the nail in the coffin for Marseille in terms of trying to get back into the game. Not the best Classique that I've ever seen, but also not a bad one either. I think it's good for PSG to have these games where they're tested, and they're pushed as close as they have done. And of course, we've seen PSG draw 3 straight matches coming into this one, so that ends a relatively barren run for them. But I think it was also refreshing just to not be talking about Kylian Mbappe at the end of the game, for the wrong reasons. He put in the right kind of performance tonight, teed up Neymar for that goal, and I think hopefully now there'll be some line drawn under some of the stuff that's been discussed earlier this week, and we can actually focus on the football again.
Nah, JJ, I don't want no line drawn. I want it to continue. I love the soap opera drama, all right? You can write a book of this stuff. Long may it continue at PSG. JJ, do you think that from what you saw today, again, you're really starting to see and understand the importance of Lionel Messi at PSG in this team at the moment? And like you said before you answered that, I think that Marseille really did test PSG. And the only thing that I look at is the Champions League, because I think that's still their main focal point. I still feel that they are very vulnerable when it comes to Champions League because of the opportunities they present. And when it gets to the last 16 against top teams and top opposition, I think PSG will be punished. And I still feel they'll fall short of the Champions League this year. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's a valid point, and I can't disagree with you at this moment in time. I think we've seen recently how vulnerable PSG's defense can be. Danilo Pereira, who's already, a makeshift central defender, normally plays in midfield, going off injured today. That's another big blow. I think PSG will really miss Kimpembe until he's back and he's fully fit. Ramos being suspended obviously doesn't help, and that is a weakness that could be exploited, especially in the Champions League, because let's not forget, if they struggle against Haifa at home, depending on which way the results go between Benfica and Juve, suddenly that game away at Juve at the end of the group stage could get a little more interesting. I mean, I think PSG have probably done enough to get through in their group, but I do agree with you. I do still think that they might be found wanting a little bit. I think the January transfer window could be key for PSG actually, because if they don't bring in certain profiles of players or address certain needs in the squad, I do think that they will continue to, just sort of amble along a little bit. It's not quite as bleak as it was under Pochettino, but it's also not sort of the rip-roaring action that we saw at the very beginning of the season when they were thumping teams like Lille. I think that PSG really, really needs some extra depth in the defense, but also not just the fact that Mbappe wanted it. I do think they need a bit of variety up top as well. You're right. Yep. Messi is completely indispensable to this PSG at this moment in time and is now really well and truly ingrained into the way that PSG play. But I think being able to go a little bit more direct, changing up the style a little bit more, not only suits someone like Christophe Galtier, but also, I think would give PSG a different style of play that they haven't had for quite a long time now.
Let's go and get Osman.
Yeah, he should. You know what? I've never seen Lionel Messi hit the woodwork more than when he's been playing at PSG. It's ridiculous how many times he hits the crossbar, he hits the post. It's absolutely insane. But convinced of victory. We've got a few more minutes with Jonathan Johnson live in Paris. Neymar on the score sheet today. His 9th League One goal this campaign, 12th of all competitions here. He goes level with Jonathan David here. Just want to pick your brain on Jonathan David and the season he's having at Lille right now. I mean, quite sensational. Obviously going to the World Cup with Canada, but do we have a little bit of a golden boot race in France?
I mean, it's, he's back in the form that everyone sort of hoped and expected him to maintain last season. Obviously, that died off a little bit over the second half of the campaign. But, Jonathan David at this moment in time, integral to that Lille side, and in really fine scoring fettle heading towards the World Cup. So, I think that he's a player who is definitely in line for a move to, one of the bigger leagues in Europe. Probably at the end of the season. I don't think he'll make that move in the winter. But I definitely think a lot of Premier League clubs and La Liga clubs will be looking at him again, having gone off him a little bit over the summer because of that barren run that he had in the second half of last season. But I think there was a stat I saw earlier. That was Neymar's 9th goal in Ligue 1 this season. Only Jonathan David has scored as many as he has at this moment in time. So that just gives you an idea of how he's keeping pace with some of the top talents in the league.
JJ, onto something closer to your heart than the amazing wine that you're having in France. Villa, did you get to catch the game today? And if so, what do you think of the performance that you saw today?
Look at his face.
I mean, how long do we have left? There's so many things to pick through. Performance-wise, I was encouraged, but ultimately, it's not the games against your Chelseas, your Manchester Cities that Steven Gerrard should be judged in. It's the games against the other clubs, the teams that arguably are the winnable games for Villa. And for me, I think it's time for Villa to act. Yeah, there's me saying that I think it's time for Gerrard to be axed. I do, because if Villa beat Fulham on Thursday, and then they go and start dropping points against some of these other clubs again, what really has that achieved? It feels like Villa are just putting off the inevitable. Well, there are some very, very good candidates on the market as well. You were talking about Pochettino to Barça earlier. He's been linked with the Villa job as well. Whether or not Villa can actually persuade him to come in and try and turn that team around at the moment, we'll have to wait and see. But it feels like, I know that the big bosses were there watching the game today. If you were basing it just on that match, you could say that Villa are unlucky. A couple of mistakes, one phenomenal goal as well from Mason Mount. But there's only so many excuses that you can put forward for this Villa side. They should be performing like that much more often, and if they had, they'd be picking up more points. But at the same time, like I said earlier, you don't get judged on the results against Chelsea and City when you're a Villa. You get judged on the other results against the other clubs, and those results, those performances haven't been good enough. And I think that is why, now is the time that Gerrard should go.
Woo, do you feel the same, Nigel, before we get out of here?
Do you know what? Yeah, I think Jonathan's right. But for me, the sad thing is, this has been the best performance by Villa all season.
It was good.
Like, they were better than Chelsea. Either Chelsea were really that bad or Villa were amazing. But it's the best performance. Kepa was man of the match. The saves he pulled out in this game were absolutely sensational. But like we know, we always say this, and for listeners to understand, when you play top oppositions, the one or two opportunities you get, you need to take them and be clinical. Because if you don't, you'll be punished. And that's what we saw from Villa today. Doesn't matter how well they played. It's still, at the end of the day, they're going to say Villa lost. As poor as Chelsea were and as amazing as Kepa was, they're going to say Villa lost again. They didn't take the opportunities. They got punished, playing so narrow still. You got so much width to use out. You've got Ollie Watkins. You've got Danny Ings. They're both a threat in the air, but we still don't use that. Steven Gerrard sticking to his principle. It hasn't been working. And today isn't the first day we've heard Villa fans rumbling for wanting Steven Gerrard to leave. It's been going on for a while. And now, like Jonathan said, they have to make a decision.
I think as well, the other thing that's really disheartening if you're a Villa fan is listening to some of the comments that Gerrard has made sort of either side of the game, coming out and saying Chelsea should be wiping the floor with Villa, and then, basically trying to point out that there's been marginal progress made. I think we're in the same position in the Premier League table, but we're not coming off the back of a run of 5 straight defeats like we were when Dean Smith left.
Let me add this as well, JJ. You're right, because you're obviously knowledgeable more than me in the media side of things. The problem is Gerrard's got is you look at Eddie Howe, what he's doing at Newcastle. Newcastle squad and Villa squad. There's not that much great difference apart from one or two players. But you look at what Eddie Howe is doing at Newcastle, the performance they put in there. There's no grumblings from Newcastle fans to say, oh, we need a better manager now, we've got money. No, because they're performing. And today, they were probably the better side than Manchester United, apart from the last 10 minutes of the game. But for Villa, apart from today's performance, it's hard to say that for Villa. And you need to be playing at a level at least where the fans will be behind you if they see the performances, if they see it's not the manager, it's just one or two. But then you haven't seen the performances and you haven't seen the right things happening tactically. So what choice have you got?
Yeah, but today was a good performance, Nigel. Today
one
they played very
performance
well.
out of how many? One performance out of what, mate? Listen,
yeah, but you're saying you're saying if the performance is not there, but today was a good performance. They just found a goalkeeper that was an insane
one performance in the whole season isn't good enough this far into the season, Ian. Like, you can't just have one performance against Chelsea. The performance against Forest wasn't good enough. Nowhere near it. And let's be real, Forest are going to go down. They're one of the teams that are definitely going to be down maybe before Christmas. You have to have consistent performances. Even if you look, I'll put it again, look at Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace's performances have been good. Fans haven't been calling for Vieira's head because the reality of it is, as much as they've lost some games, the performances by the players have been good. Villa hasn't been the same case.
All right, that's the quickest.
Nigel's got a lot of experience of when the Villa fans turn on a team. So I think
I thought you were saying a lot of
Turn on
experience
me.
with
Yeah,
relegation and getting
no.
fired.
I wasn't going to get. I wasn't going to get personal about it. No, but when Villa Park in its entirety turns on the team, on the manager, it's very, very difficult to come back from that. And I think that is the situation Gerrard finds himself in now.
Hey, that's the quickest time ever any podcast has ever gone from Clasico all the way through to Le Classique to Aston Villa sacking their manager on any podcast in the world. Jonathan Johnson, thank you so much as always, coming to live from Paris. We appreciate you, Bon nuit, my friend. We'll see you again very soon. Actually, you're back on tomorrow, so we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
Au revoir.
All right. Thank you, everybody else out there, for watching. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll take a look around at what else happened around the rest of Europe, including an absolute classic in the Premier League. We'll touch on a bit of Bundesliga and also the best of the rest from the Italian Serie A.
Italy's greatest soccer.
Is there anything this man can't do?
Europe's most exciting title race.
And there's the goal!
The battle for the Scudetto is on. Stream every Serie A match live, exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back to Qué Golazo, everybody. It's Ian Joy alongside Nigel Rio Coker. We've already discussed El Clasico. We've already gone through Le Classique. Now we want to discuss, as SSB28 said, no Liverpool City talk, question mark. Well, here you go. Yeah, that's right.
Go,
Let's get stuck into the
SSB.
Premier League,
Let's
Nigel.
go. You better, hey, SSB, you better come in with a very good question with that kind of statement. You better bring it.
The aggression coming in from all the comments.
What's
Keep
your
them
take
coming.
on the game? Tell him, what's
Let
your
us
take
know
on the
your
game,
thoughts.
SSB?
If you have a question, drop it in the comments before. Nigel Rio Coker, Liverpool, Manchester City was an absolute banger of a game. Overall thoughts on the performance and the result. Was it a deserved victory from Liverpool Football Club?
I don't know where to start, Ian. I think for me, you couldn't get a better advert for the Premier League than what we saw. The first half was lacking that little bit of beauty in the end, in the final third. But you could not sit there as a neutral and watch that game and say that wasn't a great game of football. From the commitment, the passion and desire shown by both sets of players, end-to-end football, and he was just missing that final moment. What a fantastic game of football. The passion by the managers. Not really going to touch too much on the crowd behavior because that wasn't really worth mentioning because it's going to take away from the great game of football. But what an advert for the Premier League that was. And Liverpool, what great character they've shown because of everything they've been experiencing recently. They beat Rangers. Some people might think and using that as a falsehood to say, oh, now because they beat Rangers, they're going to beat Man City. No, but Man City, it was just a great game. It really, really was a great game of football. And it was great for anyone watching neutral.
Yeah, we have a lot of great comments coming in right now here. Media Center Man, he said, great spectacle and shows why the EPL is such a global draw. We have another one from SSB28. I'd argue right now that Liverpool-Manchester City might be the best match in the world right now, the best matchup in the world. Both teams always have a great game. And I was actually thinking this, I was trying to reach out to our Des and say, maybe we should switch this here from Clasico to what happened in the Premier League because I just couldn't take my eyes off what was happening at Anfield. It was end-to-end action. It was a winning goal from Mo Salah, his 9th goal of the seasonal competitions, but it was a big mistake from Cancelo, Nigel, at the end of the day. And get this one, Alisson with his 2nd assist of the campaign, his 3rd Premier League assist. I mean, just insane from the goalkeeper, but it goes to show you, Nigel, you played in the Premier League. You cannot afford to make mistakes in big games because you will get punished by the world's best. And Mo Salah punished City today.
And that's what we talk about. We talked about it just not too long ago before the break about being clinical. Mo Salah took his chance. You probably could criticize him whether he should have scored that first chance again, but was it a world-class save by Edison? He got a fingertip to it to push it wide. But again, even after that, again, when Nunes came on, there was another opportunity where Nunes should have squared the ball, in my opinion. We can argue whether he didn't see it or not, but he should have squared the ball to Salah when they broke in I think it was a 3v2 situation. But again, Nunes, for me, I think, in my personal opinion, I feel he's in competition with the whole Haaland thing because it's been the Haaland show. Everything was about Erling Haaland before the game. Haaland, big game, Liverpool. You know, is he going to score? Nunes comes on. Hasn't had the greatest starts right now in the Premier League. Tried to be selfish, where for me, should have passed it to Salah. Game done. But again, at the end of the day, they still got the win. And it's just amazing for me. You look at that from front to back, and when you make mistakes at that high level, you're going to get punished. Haaland, for me, probably should have scored with that cross that De Bruyne put in. We've seen him normally putting them in the back of the net, the header. So it just shows how competitive he is again. But we've got to give credit, for me, to Gomez. Gomez came in. He's a player that's taken a lot of flack and stick when he has played for Liverpool. Not had the best of times, but coming into a game of this magnitude against Erling Haaland and Manchester City, the force that they are, he had a fantastic game alongside Van Dijk. And also to my old teammate, who I used to share share a locker room with, in James Milner. He's done a fantastic job at his age at 37 for keeping Phil Foden in his pocket for that game. He had a great game coming in at that age. And again, a game of this magnitude, but you're talking about a player that's seen it all, been there and done it all. Doesn't get a lot of credit that he deserves, but he was fantastic today. And it was really a great game. But I've got a question for you, Ian.
Go.
Watching that game, do you feel at any time that if Manchester City really wanted to step it up to another gear, they could have? Do you feel that Manchester City really only still kept it at third gear?
No, I don't think they kept it at third gear. I think they were just having problems stepping it up. I think that was what their main issue was. They couldn't get to that stage where they were just like, we're going to freaking go for this now. We're not going to let Liverpool be able to live with us with this dynamic movement off the ball, with the movement from Haaland in behind. There was always that something missing where you're sitting waiting for them to get going in the opposition half, where you normally see City create that pass in behind. You normally see that cross in behind, and relentlessly, it's cross after cross, it's pass after pass, where the defense and the opposition can't live with it. But today, for some reason, Liverpool sort of tactically approached the game incredibly well. I thought the way they were shaped up was great. And at times, you cannot defend some of the crosses that come into the box. And the Haaland one that you're talking about, you can't defend that. You can only hope that he doesn't put it in the back of the net. So that's where the quality has to come through in big games. And that's where you need to see an Erling Haaland stepped up and put the ball in the back of the net in big games. Didn't do it. So what did we learn? And there's great comments coming in. I'm going to get into the comments in just a second, but I want to get your opinion on what we learned from Manchester City today. Outside of the fact that maybe we're both waiting for them to really step up the gear, what else did you learn from City today?
I honestly didn't learn that much from City, if I'm honest. I think that's what City is at the moment. I feel that the biggest thing I've learned from City is the factor of not having a Raheem Sterling. They don't really have that threat to get in behind now without carrying the ball. Yes, Sterling can dribble the ball and beat people with pace, but he still has that threat to make that running behind without having possession of the ball in his feet. City are missing that. You look at Mahrez, dribbler, Grealish, dribbler. Haaland, yes, has the ability to get in behind, but it's still a difficult ask. And then you're looking at midfield area as well. Do they really have that great athleticism that they did before? I'll probably say no. So I think for me that with City, you would have to say they're really missing now that threat in behind without having the ball. And again, I think it's credit to Liverpool. I think Liverpool got everything right today tactically. Players stepped up. Players won their individual battles. Thiago was sensational in midfield as well again. He brings a different element now. I always say he's a bit of an evolution of Jurgen Klopp's midfield, in the sense he's not your typical Jordan Henderson or Fabinho. Like, he makes things happen with forward passes, his ability on the ball, and he sees things and makes passes that other players like Henderson and Fabinho, without being disrespectful to them, couldn't see or make. So I think for me, you see that there's elements missing in City, and a lot of people think because of the great start they've had with Haaland that they're favourites to win the Champions League, and I was not one of those people. I still don't think they're going to win the Champions League, because today Liverpool showed how you can defeat Manchester City.
I thought there was a bit of an issue with Pep Guardiola as well, because he only made one substitution. There's a great comment coming in from SSB28. Once again, we've got more comments coming in from other than SSB28, by the way. But he said Pep got it wrong today. One sub used, and it was in the 89th minute. This game needed a Grealish for Manchester City, but you're absolutely right. It needed some explosiveness. So I found it a little confusing to not see Grealish come onto the pitch at all, or Mahrez, for that matter, when they needed that explosiveness to get him behind, but also that creativeness, like a Grealish, that can unlock a defense that many times today didn't look like they could be beaten outside of crosses into the box, hoping that Haaland get on the end of it, or maybe a deep pass where he can use his pace to get on the end of it, like he almost did 2 or 3 times today. It was really impressive, like obviously the way Liverpool defended that.
Well, also, Ian, what they did do as well is that we talked about the bromance developing between Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland. Whenever Kevin De Bruyne has the ball, look how quickly Liverpool shut him down today. So he couldn't really get his head up. He couldn't really get that link up play. Apart from that cross, he did get
but
in.
By the way, he had 2 or 3 today where you're just like, how does he do that?
Yeah, he's inevitably he's going to get it. But if you can limit it to 2 or 3 a game, you've got more chance of winning it, that game of football against Manchester City, than letting him have 5 or 6, because he will punish you with the more opportunities he gets. But again, I think for me, that was just such a fascinating game of football. Let's talk about the foul. In your opinion, for the Manchester City goal scored by Phil Foden, was it a foul on Fabinho by Erling Haaland before?
I think it was a foul. I think it was a foul for me. I'm okay with the decision. And I guess that's why video review is there. As soon as you make that tug on the jersey, and even if you don't pull him enough, the intention is there. And when you make contact with the jersey, just a little bit, it doesn't need to drag him down. Just as long as you knock him off balance a little bit, that's where the foul's conceded. It's not a lot. And I can understand why City would be frustrated with that one. What about you? What are your thoughts on it?
100%. I feel that you say it was a tug. It was there was enough tug and force behind that.
Sure.
That was a foul. Clearly, in a regular run of play, without the VAR and slowing it down, you may not think it's a foul. You may not see it. But I think for me, there was enough force in that for it to be seen as a foul. You can clearly see there was enough behind that, in the way that Fabinho fell down as well, because he was trying to get himself in front of Haaland and the ball. Whenever you get yourself in front of the defender and the ball, more than likely any kind of pull or clear is always going to be a foul.
Yeah, I agree with you. We got some great comments coming in, Nigel, here on Qué Golazo. Everyone, we're discussing the Premier League, and obviously the talking point was a classic Premier League game today. Liverpool with a 1-0 victory over Manchester City. Let's get to some of the comments. Matt Osman agrees with you, Nigel. He says Milner gets plenty of credit. He's the most overrated, underrated player, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Great comment from Matt, but absolutely agree with you, Nigel. What a performance from him at his age. He continues to do it here. Manchester City, a lot of bit of explosiveness. You said that as well. No Sterling or Jesus. Jesus plays well against Liverpool. I agree with you on that point there, but that's where you need a Haaland to step up and take the opportunities. He tried to get him behind. Thought Van Dijk at the end as well, by the way, really defended well with his aggression. We have a few agreeing with us with Pep Guardiola's decision making when it comes to who he went with on the starting 11. Why not bringing players onto the pitch here? We've got City seem to be to pass and recycle the ball with little probing. You are correct. Sterling and Jesus had the ability to surge a game and spark something. Yes, of course, but when you've got a team that defends as well as Liverpool do today, you can't go anywhere at times. All you can do is try and keep possession of the ball. It's difficult to break that down.
I have a wild factor for you, Ian.
Yep.
For me, I look at that City bench. There's one player who could have came on and be kind of the catalyst, because he's still a bit of an unknown element. I would have brought on Alvarez.
He came on in the 89th minute, Nigel. 89th minute. Why?
Earlier. I'm telling you, that kid can make a big difference earlier. Enough time. Enough time. I just want to know how many fans listen to me, because I was one of the only few people who backed Liverpool to get the job done.
You did.
So I don't know if any fans made some money. I'll be waiting for my drink.
Listen, there's a lot of people out there who are backing everything you're saying right now, and actually your prediction game is on fire at the moment, Nigel, so try not to lose that. I want to get on a topic here that's really hot in the discussion right now, and that is Darwin Núñez here. Rafa says, I can't decide if Darwin Núñez is a good or bad player. What a great comment that is right there. We've actually got a little debate going on here. Media Center Man says, to Rafa, by the way, he responded to who's commenting on our show. He looks good and terrible in equal measure. He comes on, drives past players, unleashed a good shot, but then ignores open players and falls over his own feet. I got a text from my dad today, who's a Man United fan, by the way. I'm just going to throw that in there. Loves watching Manchester City, which is kind of weird. However, he said to me, Darwin Núñez is not a Liverpool player. I said, give him time. He needs some time. He's a good player, but right now, he is a little frustrating. And 2 minutes later, that opportunity you're talking about where he probably should have squared the ball, tried to chip it, and the chance is gone. What's going on with Darwin Núñez? I mean, is he still the guy that they signed? I mean, what's happening there?
In my opinion of what I've seen so far, I think for me, Núñez is going to be one of those players who takes longer to settle into the Premier League than it should because of the money that they spend, because that's what people are going to look at. Haaland's taken to the Premier League like duck to water. There's an expectancy for being at Liverpool that they want Núñez to adapt to the Premier League quicker. But I feel it's going to take a longer time. I feel he's lost confidence and belief in himself. And I think he needs to get back to basics, because even with that opportunity again, he's still trying to go by himself. he still doesn't look confident in the way he positions himself and striking the ball. It just seems so rushed and so all over the place. Doesn't seem structured. So I think he needs to go back to the basics and understand when you come into a team like that, you set up Mo Salah. The next chance that Mo Salah gets, he's going to know the pressure's on you. They're going to set you up with a simple tap in. Then you can slowly build your confidence. But if you want to go and try and compete and feel that you have to prove to be number 9 straight away without thinking, as long as the team wins, my goals are going to come, you're putting yourself back for failure. And that's what I feel that Núñez is doing right now. He's putting himself for failure because he's trying too hard. Jurgen Klopp can see that. And even when he did go through that time, I think he knew he was offside and he tried to chip Edson.
Yep.
It didn't even come off properly, which you can see there's a lack of confidence still there in him. So I just feel that he's going to be one of those players. It's going to take time to adapt to the Premier League, but he's not going to get that time because you are at Liverpool and there's an expectancy to hit the ground running.
Yeah, no time to waste here. Here's a few stats from that game before we move on to the rest of the best that happened in the Premier League this past weekend. By the way, I thought Bernardo Silva was terrific in this game, especially in the first half. My, oh my, he was everywhere. And I thought equally, Harvey Elliott was everywhere as well for Liverpool. Man, what a player he is, the kid. He's terrific today. So here's the stats coming up here. Most Premier League goals scored for Liverpool Football Club. Robbie Fowler's got 128. Mohamed Salah now has 121. That is one more than the great legendary Steven Gerrard, who Nigel Reo-Coker once fired at Aston Villa. 100 goals here. Here we go. Stats are still coming your way, Nigel. Mo Salah has become only the second player in Premier League history to score 100-plus left-footed goals after Robbie Fowler, who has 105 goals. So he's catching up very, very quickly behind him. As I mentioned earlier on, it was his 9th goal of the season across all competitions. He is starting to find his form after his hat-trick against Glasgow Rangers in 6 minutes. Let's move on to the best of the rest in the Premier League. Nigel Reo-Coker will start off with Leeds United Arsenal. A bit of an interesting game there. Obviously, match was delayed with the equipment issue. Saka got on the score sheet. Very important goal. 4 goals in his last 3 games. Controversial decisions. I mean, it was kind of crazy. However, for the first time in club history, Arsenal have won 9 of their opening 10 Premier League games. Impressive.
Yep, Arsenal are leading the way. The question is now, how long can they maintain that? And I think the biggest thing I'll take from this game, I want to say 2 points about this game only. One, both players should have been sent off for the theatrics, comical nonsense we saw with Bamfield getting the penalty against Gabriel. I think for me, that was absolutely embarrassing by both players, and they both should have been sent off for that. But for me, the bigger picture of Arsenal, they got the job done. They grinded out the results. They're really starting to show great resilience and a great mental toughness. That is what they're going to need for the whole entire season to really go all the way to try and compete to win this Premier League title. I think that's a big win mentally for Arsenal. That's the biggest take I get from that game.
Yeah, because that was a very good Leeds United side who are very dynamic and very dangerous. Missed the penalty kick, of course. Bamford really struggling right now, obviously, just trying to get his confidence after injury. 4 points clear now at the top of the Premier League for Arsenal. You touched upon Aston Villa and Chelsea. Big victory, obviously, with Mason Mount getting on the score sheet a couple of times. Kepa was outstanding. But real quickly, I want to get your opinion on Reece James, out for 8 weeks now. Looks like he's going to miss the big tournament, Nigel. That's a shame.
It's a shame. I think Reece James is great. England are blessed to have a lot of right backs. Yes, you've still got Trent Alexander-Arnold. Obviously, there's no point in talking about him because he's not Gareth Southgate's cup of tea. But let's not forget Kieran Trippier. Trippier is fantastic. He's an all-round right back. Doesn't get the luxury kind of seeding as obviously Reece James and Trent do ahead of him. But Kieran Trippier is a fantastic right back. Can do it all. And he could even play on the opposite side. And our producer Des is a big Atletico Madrid fan who loves Kieran Trippier for his time at Atletico Madrid because of what he did. And he was great at Atleti, and I can see him there in the comment. So I just don't think that England are really that in a devastating spot because you've got Trippier. You look at his performance today. Yeah. Had Jadon Sancho in his pocket.
Yeah, one man who could be on the plane and probably should be on the plane is Ivan Toney. He was on the double again for Brentford this weekend against Brighton. 2-0 victory for them. Brentford move up to 8th place. Does he deserve to have more of a shout here with the England lineup here, Nigel?
Yeah, of course he does. I think he definitely deserves to be in that squad, to go there. If it's done on form and done on how you're performing, then he definitely has to be in that squad. So I had a conversation with someone earlier today, and I personally believe that Gareth Southgate's already got his squad narrowed down pretty much. Unless some injuries happen from now till the naming of the squad, I think he already knows his squad. He was there at the Villa game today. So, and then people were questioning who is he watching. But I think, like I said, he's already known his squad and knows it already.
Couple more points in the Premier League here. Spurs got a 2-0 victory over Everton. Harry Kane, captain of England right now, obviously on the score sheet again from the penalty spot here. And Højbjerg also on the penalty spot. Convincing victory for Spurs. Big victory, actually, right there. That, for me, that's an impressive victory. And you could tell with the emotion after the game from Conte, he means business, Nigel, man. This guy continues to impress me at Spurs.
Listen, it's a Conte team, Conte performance. Spurs are sitting third. No one's talking about them. Only 4 points off the top as well. And Conte's doing his business quietly. If Tottenham don't realize they've got one of the great managers in world football right now, and they should back him and believe in players that he wants to sign and what he wants to do, then Tottenham will never win anything for another 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. That's just the reality. They haven't won anything in a long time anyway. If they don't believe in Conte now, then they've got no chance of ever winning anything.
Wolves got a 1-0 victory over Nottingham Forest at the bottom of the table. Ruben Neves with the goal. Forest missed a penalty in that game. Real quickly before we last comment, obviously in the Premier League here, Cristiano Ronaldo subbed off at Manchester United's boring 0-0 draw against Newcastle United. Clearly frustrating, and Cristiano Ronaldo not happy there. Your overall thoughts on the reaction?
I mean, what can you say? You talk about the evolution of players, Ian. We talked about it already. Messi's made Barcelona his team. Messi's a facilitator, getting involved, still doing it. Ronaldo's style of play, he can't be the facilitator at Manchester United. What they need him to do is score goals and make things happen. But there clearly is no understanding between him and his teammates right now. I saw him frustrated so many times in the game today with Anthony's crossing and then the lack of quality from Anthony's crossing. And that's a player that Manchester United paid nearly 100 million for. And then he gets subbed off. Best chance of the game from a fantastic cross by Casemiro, falls to Marcus Rashford, who the manager said needs to be more clinical. Think if that was Cristiano Ronaldo in that spot, in that moment, what would have happened? So I'm sure he's got some wise words right now for what he was calling the gaffer when that chance by Rashford was missed.
All right, let's rattle off the best of the rest from Europe. Let's begin with Serie A. Torino lost by a 0-0 to Juventus, who desperately needed the victory. I thought it was a fantastic goal from Vlahovic. I don't know if you caught it, Nigel. Little flick on from Danilo, back post where a striker should be. Vlahovic got the goal. Juve remain in 8th place, if I'm not mistaken, in the table, but a big victory for Juve.
Massive victory. Vlahovic scored. I think they needed that as a little bit of a morale boost. And let's see what happens next, though, because you do expect Juventus to win that game. You should expect Juventus to win that game. But it's what happens next after that.
You continue to fly high with Napoli there, a 3-2 victory over Bologna. Juan Jesus, Chucky Lozano, and Osimhen, your boys, scored. Napoli have scored, 20 goals in the last 5 matches across all competitions. I can't even fathom what's going on there. 30 goals in the last 9 since they played Liverpool at home. You remember that victory? They absolutely smashed the Reds there as well. I mean, this doesn't seem like it's slowing down here. They were tested a couple of times. They went behind. They also drew level at 2-2, but then found the winner thanks to Osimhen. And you can tell this team is united. This team is energetic. They don't give a shit who they're playing against. They're beating everyone.
I don't need to add any more to what you just said, Ian. You said it all there. I don't need to add anything more.
All right, Hellas Verona, they went down by 2-1 against AC Milan. Tonali with the winning goal, 81st minute of that game. Lazio Udinese finished 0-0, Inter a 2-0 victory over Salernitana. I watched Atalanta Sassuolo. I thought it was a cracking game, and Atalanta are flying high at the top of the table right now. It's going to be interesting. Watch Serie A. It is not going to slow down, and we still have a title race going on. I think there's 3 or 4 teams who are going to be there or thereabouts at the end of the season, and some unlikely names will be in the title race in Serie A for Scudetto. So look forward to watching that on Paramount Plus and our CBS Sports team. Let's get to the Bundesliga. Nigel, I know you've got a few questions for me before we get started. I do have to apologize to all Bayern Munich officials, fans, players out there for doubting you in any way possible. And I apologize to everybody who's following the show as well, because I did doubt that there was something wrong with Bayern Munich, but clearly after a final victory over Freiburg at the top of the table, I am a bit of an idiot, Nigel.
I'm glad you said it, and I didn't have to say it. I just said to you that there's nothing wrong at Bayern Munich, but I'm glad you labeled yourself that for the insensitive comment to Bayern Munich. And it kind of, to a certain degree, to people watching, it reminds me a bit of the silly comment that the legendary Paul Merson made on Sky Sports about Harry Kane going to Bayern Munich. Why would he want to go there? Lewandowski didn't even win the Champions League when he was with them. What did you say? I'm sorry, Paul, what did
2
you
years
say?
ago. 2 years
He just
ago.
said it the other day. Exactly. Lewandowski didn't. That's why he left. It just goes to show the silliness that's around the world of football sometimes. But
listen,
Bayern Munich, like we told
we
you,
all say silly things, though, Nigel. We all say silly things. And let's be honest, That Champions League was played in empty behind closed doors as well. So for a lot of people, that Champions League didn't actually happen.
Jesus Christ, come on. Give them the credit they deserve.
Well,
But
Bayern Munich are now
on.
4 points behind Union Berlin. Bayern, 29 Bundesliga goals so far this season. It's almost 3 goals a game that are scoring. Serge Gnabry, Choupo-Moting, Leroy Sané, who's been sensational for them on the score sheet, as was Sadio Mane, his 5th Bundesliga goal, 9th across all competitions, and Marcel Sabitzer to make it 5-0. I had a conversation with Freiburg's assistant coach before the game, actually yesterday. Quick conversation, former teammate of mine at Napoli. I said, how are you going to approach this game? He said, we're going to go for it. What have we got to lose? I mean, if we go there and defend, we'll probably lose anyway, so we might as well go and try it. So I have a little bit of love for the fact that Freiburg don't care who they're playing. They're going to try and play their own game. But today, it worked against them. Union Berlin got a 2-0 victory against Borussia Dortmund. This was a statement win, by the way, from Union Berlin. Haberer on the score sheet, 2 goals from him. Union Berlin remain top of the league. They only had 23% possession of the ball, Nigel, and are unbeaten in the last 11 home games. They are incredible. But Borussia Dortmund, even in games like this, and I know you don't follow the Bundesliga as closely as I do, not many people do, but it's still annoying the fact that they couldn't be more competitive in this game. I was frustrated with it.
No, I mean, they got the win. If you look at it, it was pretty much mainly Union Berlin with the better chances. You know, they really restricted Dortmund to long-range efforts, edge of the box. I think the best chance they got was towards the end of the game. Who was it that came on? Was it
Royce came on.
Mark Royce, when he got pushed out wide by the goalkeeper. That's probably their best chance they really had in the box. So for Union Berlin, they got the job done. And you'd have to say it's a bit of a Jose Mourinho style type of management. It's not about possession. It's about getting the result. And they got the result. And it's a big, big result. And you could say that's a big confidence booster for them and a statement win to beat Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, SSB28 also, once again, in the comment section, the story of Union Berlin is inspiring. It absolutely is. I mean, this is a club that is for the community. It is a club for the people. And if you go and have a look at some of the stories behind Union Berlin, it's really sensational what they're doing for people around Berlin, around the Bundesliga. And the story right now, seeing them at the top of the Bundesliga is sensational. Played against them many times. It's an unusual stadium because it's in the forest a little bit. You kind of have to get out your car and walk through the trees to get to the stadium. It's kind of cool. However, to see them top of the table is really inspiring. Best of the rest from the Bundesliga, Frankfurt with a massive victory against Leverkusen, 5-0, Nigel. Not started off great for Xabi Alonso. He got that victory last weekend against Schalke, got a bit carried away, got pumped in the Champions League, and now hammered, and I mean hammered by Frankfurt, 5-1. The other notable result was Leipzig getting a 3-2 victory over Hertha Berlin, and that wraps up the Bundesliga. Nigel Rio Coco, before I let you go, once again, awesome stuff this weekend. I'm glad you were on top of so many games this weekend. I love what you're watching. Go ahead.
Hold on, Ian. Before we go, we got to forget. We got to tell the fans as well. Barcelona lost because of the curse of Drake, right? Who told Barcelona to stick Drake's logo on their shirt? Have they not heard of the curse of Drake? And allegedly, Drake, who knows nothing about soccer, just likes to be a fan. No problem with that. Lost nearly $500,000 on 2 bets, I believe. Yeah, that's what you get. The curse of Drake.
What do you make of that, Nigel? What do you think of that? What do you think about Spotify putting
I'll tell you what I think about it. I'll be honest about it. Barcelona will do anything for a bit of money. Let's ask how much money Spotify has paid to have that on the shirt, because that's what it comes down to. That's a money thing. Barcelona right now are doing anything for money. They did that for money, and they got battered today by Real Madrid, and Real Madrid won the Clasico. I don't know. It's a shame we can't show video on here, but let's just see the dance from Rudiger in the dressing room, in the Real Madrid dressing room after they beat Barcelona.
Yeah. Were they playing Drake? Were they dancing to Drake?
They should have been dancing to Drake.
I agree with you. I've got a great show coming up tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern with Fabrizio Romano. We're going to delve deep into what's happening at Barcelona. I'm intrigued to hear what Fabrizio has to say about Barcelona, so make sure you tune into that show, 9 o'clock Eastern tomorrow morning. Wherever you are around the world, jump in the conversation, and if you've got a question for Fabrizio, I'm sure he'll answer it. But yeah, a little bit of an embarrassment for Barcelona, even though I thought they played well in the game. Nowhere near good enough to compete with Real Madrid today, and certainly lost that victory in large part thanks to Drake. So thanks very much for that. Before we get out the door here, our producer Des wants to talk about some of the big misses. Who had the worst miss that you caught this weekend? There is some nominees. There's a Salah, there's a Jota, there's a Fred, there's a Rashford, there's a Lewandowski, and there's a Bamford. Me, I'm going to go first real quickly. Lewandowski, you don't see him miss those chances in big games, and he did. That was a massive miss for them. That was their opportunity, and he passed up on it. And I also thought Rashford against Newcastle, I don't know if you got that one, at the end of the game. Oh, my word. Wow.
You don't think Fred was worse from the cutback?
Oh,
Fred
yeah,
tried
no,
to
I
open
do.
up with
I
his
do,
left
but
foot. Come on,
end of the game, though, you know, you get that one
Fred
chance.
was worse. Fred just had to get a solid connection onto that, into the bloody open goal. I think Lewandowski, when you look at that again in slow motion, it looks easy, but the ball is off the ground. It's not rolling. He tries to get a firm ankle on it, but the ball is just too much pace on it. And as much as he sticks his leg out, it can go anywhere. But Fred's, come on. Fred's miss was the worst. Fred's miss was the worst. Rashford's not clinical, so I don't expect Rashford to score that. I'm a big Marcus Rashford fan, but he's never been clinical like that. So I didn't expect it. I just have more admiration for the fantastic ball by Casemiro with the outside the boot, like dink. Like, dink.
Nigel Rio-Coker, you're the best, man. Appreciate you as always. Thank you so much for your comments, and thank you for always being a part of this show and making it great. Thanks to everybody out there for watching in, and drop it in your comments. Like I said before, this show is being created for you. There's a lot happening behind the scenes. You'll find out very soon what's happening with our show, but I'm really appreciating the love that we're getting from a lot of regulars out there. Tell your friends, tell your family, let them jump in the comments with us here. We're happy to really take the piss out of everybody out there if they want to come on the show as well, and we take the piss out of each other. That's what we do. This is our show. We create it for you. It's also your show. So if you want to make fun of us, absolutely no problem at all. But let us know your feelings about your club, you know, teams that you don't like, players that you don't like, stories, but jump in the conversation. That is exactly what we want to hear from you, and try to get some hot takes from Nigel Rio-Coker, Jonathan Johnson, James Ben, Michael Lahoud. We've got so many characters who come on the show who try to help us grow this, and we're doing a great job of it. And it's thanks to everybody out there for tuning in. We can't thank you enough. So thank you once again for watching Qué Golazo. Make sure you take a minute to leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast platform. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and anywhere else you listen to your podcast. We're also available, unfortunately, to Nigel Rio-Coker on video. Yeah, subscribe to us on YouTube. Visit youtube.com/Qué Golazo. Hey, everybody, we'll see you next time. Tune in tomorrow for Fabrizio Romano, 9 a.m. Eastern, live, everybody. We'll see you then.